start now.
Namaste. Greetings to everyone. It's an honor to extend a warm welcome in the fourth event organized jointly by Deshbandhu College, University of Delhi, and Pettigrew College, Manipur University, under the scheme Vidya Vistar. On the occasion of 99th Foundation Day of University of Delhi, Professor P.C. Joshi, Vice Chancellor at that time, introduced this scheme as part of the university's outreach program. Under this scheme, various departments and colleges will share their academic resources with partner institutes of remote areas across the country. This collaborative webinar is one such endeavor to accomplish the objective of this scheme. On behalf of Vidya Vistar team of Deshbandhu College and Pettigrew College, I, Dr. Madhurani, Assistant Professor at Department of Botany, Deshbandhu College, humbly welcome our invited speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Dimpy Mahanta, Founding Head, Department of Psychology, Cotton University, Assam. Respected Principal, Deshbandhu College, Professor Rajiv Agrawal, sir. Respected Principal, Pettigrew College, Shri Surai Shank, sir. Respected Vice Principal, Deshbandhu College, Professor Kamal Kumar Gupta, sir. IQAC Coordinator, Deshbandhu College, Dr. Aditya Saxena, sir. Convener for V2S from Deshbandhu College, Dr. Moses and Dr. Parul Singh. Convener for V2S from Pettigrew College, Shri Kafung Singh and Dr. Gaikwang Gaumei. Esteemed faculty members joining today and our precious students from Deshbandhu College, Pettigrew College, and various other colleges from different parts of the country. To begin with, we request for all for understanding for any technical glitch that could happen during the program and request all the participants to endure with us. It's a humble request to all the participants to kindly keep their mic on mute during this session to avoid any unpleasant disturbances. Success of every event rely largely on the team leader. We at Deshbandhu College are blessed to have a dynamic, compassionate, and dedicated team leader in the form of Principal Professor Rajiv Agrawal, sir. He inspires a strong belief and passion for the mission among all the team members. We also feel privileged due to prior commitments. Sir could not join us today, and he has conveyed his blessings and gratitude to all the participants. We also feel privileged to having a diligent and instrumental Vice Principal, Professor Kamal Kumar Gupta, sir, and it gives me an immense pleasure to invite him to address the gathering. Kamal, sir.
Good afternoon. Am I audible? Do you hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon, Deshbandhu College and Pettigrew College. I feel privileged to welcome speaker of today's talk, Dr. Dimpy Mahanta, Founder Head, Cotton College, Department of Psychology. We are all eager to hear, ma'am. My heartfelt welcome to Chief Patron, Professor Dr. Shri R.N. Vats, Governing Body Chairman, Deshbandhu College. I welcome Professor Rajiv Agrawal, Principal, Deshbandhu College, Patron, and Mr. Surai Singh, Principal, Pettigrew College. I like my welcome to Coordinator IQAC, Dr. Aditya Saxena, conveners of Vidya Vistar of Deshbandhu College, Dr. Parul and Dr. Moses, convener, Pettigrew College Vidya Vistar scheme, science conveners, Dr. Bela Bhatia, a senior faculty member of Botany Department, and then conveners, event conveners, coordinators, and students, faculty members, ladies and gentlemen. It's really my privilege to welcome you all. Stress management and resilience building is such a fantastic topic. What is going to be there for today's talk? And it is, in fact, the third event in a very short span of inauguration of the Vidya Vistar scheme. So I congratulate the Vidya Vistar scheme team for being very, very dynamic and persistent and so innovative in organizing so many events in a short span of time. Stress. When I was a young boy, probably I was not knowing what is meaning of stress. Right now, I think each one of us, every one of us, is in one or other stress. I remember when I was a small child, I used to go to the exam. That time it used to be only momentary stress. The time when I used to be given the question paper in 2 minutes, reading the question paper, after all the stress used to vanish. But these days, stress is perennial, persistent. Everyone is facing us, and many a time it take a very, very bad shape. It causes depression, psychological disorders, and of course, one of the main cause of suicides. COVID has opened it further. It's aggravated further because we have deviated our routine. So anything which deviate from our normal routine is one of the cause of stress. Maybe stress, if it's not a pessimist, stress is a byproduct of development. Stress is a byproduct of materialistic world. Stress, when there's so, is a byproduct of marketism. When there's so much of open market, when there's so many of products, when so much of desire, when so much of disparities, that cause stress. And disparities in all the. But yes, we cannot escape this. We cannot escape from the development. We cannot escape from the materialism. We cannot escape. But a path is required where we can manage the stress. Stress is stress management is needed by each and every one of us in one or other aspect. And building resilience is one of the way out to manage the stress. So naturally, the stress management, the quantum stress management vary at different level, different sex, different profession, different development, and all these things. So our speakers will certainly throw much more light on the stress and how can we manage the stress and how can we build the resilience. So we are all keen to hear her. And I think not only the talk, it is certainly going to be a very, very interactive round in interactive talk. So thank you, Madhu, once again, and my best wishes, my blessings. And again, I congratulate the Vidya Vistar scheme for organizing such a wonderful talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Very true, sir. Our ambitions, they cause us stress, a lot of stress, but we need to handle these in a very positive manner. And we are looking forward to learn how to do that. Endeavors like Vidya Vistar scheme demand undue efforts, and this immense responsibility is taken up by the team of dedicated and passionate people as conveners and coordinators for this scheme from the partner colleges. I feel privileged to request and invite Dr. Bela Bhatia ma'am, Science Coordinator for Vidya Vistar scheme and Associate Professor in Department of Botany, Deshbandhu College, to tell us about this scheme. Over to you, ma'am. Bela ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Madhu. Esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Dimpi Mahanta, respected Vice Principal Sir, Dr. Kamal Kumar Gupta, dear faculty members and student participants from schools, colleges, and institutions from different parts of the country, welcome to this webinar. Delhi University's Vidya Vistar scheme aims to facilitate academic cooperation with other universities and institutions. This scheme, which is popularly known as V2 scheme, provide ground to partnering institutions for academic collaboration and cooperation. Under Vidya Vistar scheme, Deshbandhu College and Pedigree College of Manipur are organizing series of events. Apart from subject-specific programs, the need of the hour is to deal with our day-to-day stress. Basically, stress results when logic tries to suppress the feelings. In words of John Milton, the mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. That means mind has the power and the capacity to convert the stress into joy and vice versa. Today's event, which is fourth in the series, aims to provide some clues to deal with the stress and make our life more comfortable. I once again welcome you all and hope this will be an enlightening and enriching experience. With these words, I hand over to Dr. Madhu to carry forward the program. Thank you, Dr. Madhu.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Stress is definitely a part of being human. And sometimes it can help motivate us to get things done. Sometimes we deal with stress every day, work, family, our health issues. In fact, nowadays, due to this pandemic, it is the major part of stress in our life. And the financial obligations sometimes. These are the part of our everyday life that commonly contribute to heightened stress levels. Minimizing the chronic stress of daily life is important for overall uh, physical as well as mental health. We are excited and grateful for our invited speaker today, Dr. Dimpi Mahanta ma'am, who kindly accepted our invitation to guide us in identifying, dealing, and managing our stress. I now request Dr. Aparna Shekhar ma'am, Science Coordinator for the Vidya Vistar scheme and Assistant Professor in Department of Chemistry, Deshbandhu College, to introduce our guest speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madhu. The speaker for today, Dr. Dimpi Mahanta, is an educator, motivational speaker, psychologist, stress management specialist, and a life coach with 15 years of experience. A doctorate in psychology from University of Delhi, she has contributed immensely in the establishment of psychology departments at two premier educational institutions, namely Keshav Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi, and Cotton University, Guwahati, Assam. She is also an elected member of prestigious American Psychological Association based in Washington, D.C., and an executive committee member of Indian Academy of Health Psychology and president of the Northeast Indian Association of Applied Psychology. Dr. Mahanta is a recipient of prestigious Mehta Memorial Award in Psychology in 2001, Bharat Gaurav Puraskar in 2021, and has recently bagged the BW Business World 40 Under 40 Award for her contribution in the field of mental health and well-being. She is also a regular visiting faculty, trainer, and a resource person at prestigious Northeastern Police Academy, Meghalaya Police Academy, Narcotics Control Bureau, and Assam Administrative Staff College. She has also conducted training programs and workshops on stress management, resilience building, conflict management, and negotiation. Her recommendations, based on her fully funded research work with frontline workers in Kaziranga National Park on stress, well-being, and motivation, were incorporated in Assam State Finance Budget 2020. Her research contributions have made a huge impact at policy making and implementation in the region. Since the start of the pandemic, Dr. Mahanta had been providing free counseling to hundreds of youth from different parts of the country as a part and parcel of prestigious National Task Force of Indian Academy of Health Psychology, and also addressing various mental health related concerns through hundreds of webinars as a keynote speaker both nationally and internationally. It's a pleasure to invite Dr. Mahanta for further conduct of program and address the participants. Over to Dr. Mahanta.
A very good afternoon to all of you present over here. Thank you, Dr. Aparna. I have known Aparna for quite some time. I was in Keshav Mahavidyalaya. Dr. Aparna was also there. It's really nice to see old people here. And in fact, I'm very delighted to be a part of today's program and speak on a topic which is very close to my heart, and that is on stress management and building resilience. Thank you so much to all the faculty members, principals, coordinators of IQAC of both the colleges, Deshbandhu College and Pettigrew College, Manipur, for having invited me as a speaker for today's program. Well, let me just share my PowerPoint. Yeah, just a second. I hope it's visible to everybody, is it?
Yeah, Dimpy, it's visible.
It's visible, right? Okay, fine, cool. I'll just, all right. So today the topic is how to manage stress and how to build your resilience. As rightly pointed out by Honorable Vice Principal Sir and Dr. Madhu as well, and other speakers, Dr. Bela, that stress is a normal part of our day-to-day life. And it is, in fact, in last couple of months, I would rather say 1.5 years, we had been experiencing stress because of this heightened stress, I would say, because of the prevailing pandemic, which had begun sometime around November 2019. So this topic, stress management, has always been an evergreen topic, but in today's scenario, current scenario, it becomes all more important and relevant. I think relevance has increased in today's scenario, and it's important for all of us to understand the dynamics of managing stress. What exactly is stress? What are the symptoms of stress? What are the causes of stress? And how effectively, how efficiently can we manage this stress? So before I go ahead with the topic on stress, I would just like to throw some light on mental health and then slowly progress towards stress, the causes, symptoms, and then I will cover the management part. Now, when we talk about the mental health, you see, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It in fact affects the way we think, how we feel, and how we act. So in fact, whenever we talk about mental health, it is so important at every stage of our life, right from the time when we were a child, then we became adolescents, and then adulthood, and then later. So mental health is important at every single stage of our life. So according to World Health Organization, WHO, mental health actually focuses on the well-being of an individual, how he handles the stresses of life, how can he work productively and fruitfully, and whether that individual is able to contribute, effectively to his or her community. If the answer to this is yes, we can say that yes, the person's mental health is sound enough. So now, whenever we're talking about mental distress, now mental distress is the inner signal of anxiety or the stress that an individual experiences or a person experiences something in their environment which is demanding, and that they adapt to a challenge, for example, giving a presentation or failing to meet a deadline. And this is called a signal, stress signal, or we also call it as a stress response. Now, everybody experiences mental distress, which we often call as stress in our day-to-day life. Stress is an inevitable part of our daily life. If someone is saying that I don't experience stress at all, it's not possible. It is an integral part of our day-to-day life. Therefore, we cannot eliminate stress at all. What we need to learn is how can we effectively manage this stress? Stress is a condition or feeling, experience when a person perceives that the demands exceeds the personal and social resources the individual is able to mobilize. So here we need to understand that we all have limited bodily resources. And how we spend that bodily resources play a very important role. Now, if the demands from the outside exceeds the resources that you have, Okay, resources that the individual is able to mobilize. That's the point when an individual experiences the stress condition. Okay, just a second. All right. Now the question is, if stress disrupts body balance and function, is all stress bad? The answer to this is no. Not all stresses are bad, because as rightly pointed out by our vice principal, sir, that many a times what happens, just before your examination, you do experience stress, and that stress actually motivates you. And that motivation in turn affects your performance. It leads to heightened performance, right? So moderate amount of stress is good for your optimum performance. But problem arises when the stress is too low. Like tomorrow you have an exam, or tomorrow you have some important assignment to submit, and you are completely free, not at all bothered about it. You are just watching a movie, going for a party, not at all focusing on the examination preparation. In such a scenario, do you think your performance will be good or optimum? The answer is no. So in such a case, if the stress is too low, that also can lead to low performance. But again, if the stress is too high, you were not able to sleep at night, you had butterfly in the stomach the whole night. So in such a scenario, again, that is going to affect or hamper your performance. So now you can see in front of you, you can see here that when the stress is too low, then also the performance level is low. Okay. When the stress is too high, again, you can see it's an inverted U-shaped, bell-shaped curve. The performance is again going to be low. But when the stress level is moderate, somewhere here, then you can see that the performance is maximum. So moderate amount of stress is very, very good for good performance or for the best performance. Now, Hans Selye, he is known as the father of stress. He came up with a syndrome which is called as general adaptation syndrome. Now, when an individual encounters stressor, okay, for the first time, he goes through basically 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Now, phase 1 is your alarm reaction. The moment you encounter a stressor, okay, the body tries to fight with that. So for that, it needs to mobilize the resources which are there in the body, which I just mentioned a while ago. Okay, then, when the stressor is persisting for a long period of time, okay, the body is going to try to resist it. The resistance phase starts, and it tries to cope with the stressor using the bodily resources that it has. And then again, if the stressor is prolonged and it is chronic, then what will happen? The bodily resources are not unlimited. Slowly and steadily, it goes on decreasing, depleting. And a point will come when the bodily resources or reserves are exhausted. And that's the stage where we call it as exhaustion. And when this stage starts and it continues for a long period of time, it may lead to a syndrome, which we call as burnout stress syndrome. And that, again, if it continues, it can even lead to suicides. So you can see how important it is to manage your stress at the right time. Otherwise, it can even lead to deaths if it continues for a prolonged period of time, that chronic stress. Now, what causes stress to be good or bad? It's our own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about a situation that makes stress either good or pleasant, or bad or unpleasant. You must have seen in your family and friends also, there would be so many of your friends, when you see that in any kind of situation, they're very calm. They don't take any, hassle or any tension. But on the other hand, you would see some other friends who really get hyper and who are unable to deal with that. The situation is the same. Everything is the same. The context is the same. But the individual's response to that varies. Okay? And that's how the person terms it as a good or a bad. It's our own thoughts, our own feelings, and our own beliefs about any situation for that matter in our life that will make any situation or any stress either pleasant or unpleasant. Now, there is something called personality types also. There are people who have an aggressive involvement in a chronic way to achieve more and more in less and less time. They're highly competitive. Even if they're playing something, they're playing to win. They're not just playing for fun, right? Such individuals have personality, which we call as type A personality. On the other hand, there will be individuals who are relatively calm, relaxed, they have no time urgency, they can relax, they can take an afternoon nap without guilt. That does not happen for type A. So these are type B personalities. Now, if you ask me, who out of these two groups are achievers? Research has shown it's the type A individuals who are achievers. But again, who out of these two groups are the individuals who experience heightened stress? It's the type A again. So that's about personality. Now, key facts about stress. Let me tell you, stress, as I mentioned, is normal and it is not necessarily bad. In fact, some stress, as I told you, it can motivate you and get you ready for action. The eustress or the good stress that I call. Stress becomes a problem. It becomes a distress when it is too much. Okay, when there's too much of stress, when it is chronic or it goes on for too long, when we call it as prolonged stress, that's when the problem begins. Now, coming to the consequences. Now, stress can affect an individual at various levels. It can affect you at the physiological level. It can affect you at the psychological level. And also, it can affect you at the behavioral level. Now, as you all know, human body is complex. It has various systems within it. The nervous system, musculoskeletal system, respiratory system, cardiovascular system, endocrine system, gastrointestinal system. All of these systems get affected whenever you are encountering this prolonged chronic stress. So that's the reason why many individuals who are experiencing stress for a long period of time, they experience heart issues, they have hypertension, cancers, ulcers, diabetes, chronic headaches, asthma, just name it. So these are the physiological bodily effects of stress. Now it affects also psychologically, like an individual who experiences heightened stress can experience anxiety, there can be panic attacks, there can be mood swings, there can be loss of desire, low self-esteem. Memory loss is a very important, again, effect of stress. When there is difficulty in concentrating on a task, you can't stay focused on anything for long. Then there is phobias, depression, etc. So these are the psychological effects of stress. Coming to the behavioral effects of stress, behavior means actions. Here, what all can happen? Now, you must have seen in your near and dear ones, family members, friends, strangers, some people really get very argumentative. They start blaming others for a very small thing. So many times it's because of the stress. These are the behavioral effects of stress. Their drug or alcohol abuse is also one of the behavioral effects of stress. Excessive violence, irritability, domestic violence cases in the initial phases of the pandemic, if you remember, when there was lockdown, the cases were so high. Behavioral effects of stress. Lack of control, neurotic behavior, nail biting, obsession with work, uncontrollable urges to cry, withdrawal, all of these are the behavioral symptoms or effects of stress. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because many a times people don't even realize it, how important it is to, first of all, be aware. Because when you are aware of the effects of the stress, that's when you notice it in your friends or family or anybody for that matter, you can help them out in the time of need before it is too late. Other possible major effects of stress are alcoholism and substance abuse, which are quite often seen in our younger generation. Depression is very common, and suicides. Sir also had mentioned how many students they are unable to cope with the stresses, study-related, academic stress, and whatever, for that matter, relationships-related stress, and all of that accumulated end up their lives. So it's so sad that people are unable to manage their stress effectively. So these are the major effects of stress. When I talk about depression, now you see, every youngster, depression is just there on the tip of their tongue. So if you ask, the other day I saw my 10-year-old daughter sitting, and then I was asking her what happened. Mama, I am very depressed. I have to do so much of homework, assignment which is left. Now you see, they don't even understand what exactly is depression, but then depression is there in their mouth. So they were talking amongst their friends about it. Basically, depression is not sadness. People confuse that. When do we call it depression? Depression is often marked by overwhelming sadness, anger, melancholy. People nowadays they use it very loosely, the term depression. People experiencing depression may also be hypersensitive, and they may complain of headaches or stomach aches. Now, what all can be the indicators of depression? The individuals with depression, they may feel worthless, lonely, or helpless. They may have problems concentrating. They experience fatigue or disinterest. There can be frequent crying for very small things. They might just, cry. They may also have thoughts of suicide or preoccupation with death. And let me tell you, when do we call it as a case of clinical depression? When these symptoms are there for at least 2 weeks, 14 days, at a stretch. That's when it is very important to actually consult a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist and take necessary help at the right time. Now, this may sound one thing that I would just like to say before I move ahead, that is, consequences of mental health problems can include poor performance at work. It can lead to difficulties in forming friendships, much needed social interactions, substance abuse, risky sexual behavior leading to infections, and even suicide. So therefore, this may sound alarming, but it's very important to seek help if at all you believe an individual in your life has any kind of mental health related issues. So helping them at the right time is extremely important. Now, coming to stress management. Now, why do we need stress management? Why are we here today to talk about it? Because, as I told you, managing stress will help you to lead a life where you are able to contribute towards the society. You are able to manage your problems effectively. It will help you enhance your performance at work. It will have many health benefits also. It will improve your relationships that you share with your significant others. It can be your friends, it can be your family members, your near and dear ones. Positive attitude and outlook in life. If you know how to manage stress, you will be more optimistic towards your life problems. You will be better able to manage your emotions. Okay, so these are the reasons why we require stress management. Now, as we all know, life is dynamic and constantly changing. Okay, so stress is an inevitable part of our life. It is not possible to avoid stress entirely, as I just mentioned. Therefore, we have to learn how to manage stress and navigate through the situations that trigger stress. And one thing we all need to remember, that often it is the situations in life, stressful situations in life, if you just look back, those are the situations that have brought out your best. So stress has to be there. But then again, you need to understand the types of stresses. There are 2 types of stresses. One is called as internal stressor. The second is the external stressor. Now, when I talk about the internal stressors, they are those stress triggers that are internal to every individual, because most of the time you might have seen, you may feel irritable, irritable to feel tired, or you may feel tired or unappreciated, negative thoughts, okay? And there may be, distorted thoughts, automatic thinking of forms of internal stressors. Then you have something called external stressors, which relate to our environment. That can involve high pressure situations such as work deadline, caring for a sick loved one, and even positive life events like you have got a promotion or a transfer or a marriage. That also is stressful. So when I talk about external stressor, remember one thing, they are the things that are beyond your control. Like for example, the present pandemic. So the present pandemic is an example, classic example of external stressor. We had no idea about it, right? Before 2019, that is such an unprecedented situation will turn out. It is a case of external stressor. Now, what can you do? Can you change the situation? No. Here you have to learn how you can strengthen your inner core. What all measures that you have to take to manage your internal stressors effectively, so that you can cope up with that external stressor. Now, I will be telling you part by part how you can manage your internal stressors. Then I'll move on to the external stressor management. Okay, now, all right. Internal stressor, let me talk about the first thing, that is irritability. Okay, whenever you are feeling irritable, remember, you need to note of your I statements versus you statements. Whenever we feel irritable, our words become very fast, which indicate arousal and narrowing of focus. Okay, in such a scenario, it is extremely important that you try to think slow, which would lead to relaxation and expanding your focus. Turn shorthand thoughts into complete sentence. Okay, here, because you all know that whenever you are feeling irritable, the thought process goes very fast. So here, you tend to take note of the distorted thinking styles that you often experience. Mostly, it's magnification. Second is destructive labeling. And the third is imperative thinking. Now, what do we mean by magnification? Magnification is making a mountain out of a molehill, that we say often. Choti si cheez ko hum bahut bada kar, we talk a lot about it. We make it a very big. So that is magnification. That is thinking that something is bigger than it is. That is, again, let me tell you, that is a distorted thinking style. The second is destructive labeling. Like quite often, what happens in a stressful situation, whenever you are having a fight or an argument, what do? We engage in destructive labeling. We tell the person that you were good for nothing, you were stupid, whatever. So that's destructive labeling, that is assessing someone or something negatively, right? The third one is imperative thinking. Imperative thinking means you have a fixed belief that something or someone should do or be in a certain way. When something or someone is not, behaving in a particular way, the way you wish that to be, then you engage in what? Imperative thinking. Moving ahead, now what can you do about it? You need to use your thoughts as instructional self-statements. When negative thoughts, when you notice negative thoughts, try countering them with different statements about your situation. If your thinking has involves magnification, then put things in a different perspective. If your thinking involves destructive labeling, be more specific. Rather than saying that you are good for nothing, you are stupid, try to focus on the action. That this is something in you that I really felt hurt. This action of yours hurt me. This behavior of yours hurt me. Focus on the action or the behavior, not label the individual per se. So try to be more specific here. If your thinking involves imperatives, counter that with more flexibility and consider other options. Okay. And also one more thing is that you need to take time out. As you all know, anger, anxiety, and frustration, they all narrow your focus. So a break away from a situation can help you approach again with a fresh perspective. For example, in any kind of situation where you get irritated or you get angry, there is definitely some heightened arousal. So in such a scenario, it's very important to take some time out. Like if taking a time out from a situation where you felt angry, try using up that arousal energy by maybe going for a quick run or some other type of exercise. That is one very effective way of dealing with your internal stressor, right? Now, many of you may feel underappreciated, and feeling underappreciated is also an internal stressor. Okay, so it happens at workplace also. Many times, employees do tell me that, we are working hard, but then we are not getting appreciated. Our work goes unappreciated, underappreciated. In such a scenario, that involves the emotions of dejection, depression, disappointment. So these emotions often lead to poorer performance, unlike the swing emotions, which can go either way. So these are known as blue emotions. These are marked by a lack of arousal and self-talk that is too slow. Okay. So in order to counter these, you need to instill within you emotions that arouse your energy level, such as enthusiasm, optimism, and tenacity. And these emotions, unlike the swing emotions or blue emotions, they actually enhance your performance. Now you see here, there is a triangle that you can see, right? So here you can see A, B, and C, right? A stands for affect. Affect means the emotional aspect of it. B is your behavior or the action. And the C is the cognition. It's like a triangle. So each of them are, related. Each of them are affecting one another. Okay. So now, if you engage in certain actions or take up certain behavior, that will again have an impact on positive behavior, that will again have an impact on your cognition or thoughts, and that will affect your emotions. If you change your thoughts, that will have an impact on your emotions, and again, that will have an impact on your behavior. So these three things are interrelated: your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions or behavior. Now, strategies to increase your high performance emotions of enthusiasm, confidence, optimism, and tenacity. If you feel underappreciated, low aroused, so what can you do? Number one, acknowledge and celebrate successes, whatever successes that you may get. Listen to upbeat music that makes you happy, because that will again, lead to better, higher arousal. Look for and appreciate humor wherever you find it. A good belly laugh can change your outlook for the better. Acknowledge what is going well. For example, I often tell, in fact, my students and participants to maintain a daily gratitude journal. You know why it is important? Because when you practice gratitude, there is a shift in your thoughts from focusing on deficiencies to focusing on abundance. That is the reason why it is so important to cultivate the feelings of gratitude. And for that, maintaining a daily gratitude journal is important. While I was working in Delhi University as a permanent faculty for the last 9 years, that time there were few students who were doing research under my guidance, and that time I asked them to do a project to find out the relationship between gratitude and psychological well-being. And the students actually maintained daily gratitude journal. And after a month, when we measured the psychological well-being, it went up. So there is a clear relation between gratitude and psychological well-being. Before you go to bed each night, write down on an index card 3 statements that will put you in a good mood and place it on a nightstand or table, so that next morning, whenever you wake up and look at that, you can start your day on a positive note. That is very, very effective. Another thing is when you are not well rested. Okay, many times it happens, you're not well rested. Don't try to force sleep. Let it come passively. One strategy is to read a book, not on the Kindle or not on your tab, because that light again, it will keep you aroused and you will not fall sleepy. Okay, read a good book until you feel sleepy. Avoid late meals or exercising late at night. If you feel anxious, which can cause your thoughts to race, try meditation to quiet your thought. Writing a journal is another strategy. Try taking a hot bath. I'm giving you very practical steps, but do so 30 minutes before sleeping. Why? Because right after your hot bath, though it is relaxing, immediately after that, your body temperature dips. Okay. Therefore, allowing 30 minutes before bedtime will give your body temperature a chance to level off, and that is again going to help you. Go to sleep and wake up at a regular schedule every single day. Okay, that's why I tell quite often that one needs to maintain what we call as sleep hygiene. That's very important. Being rested is not just about physical sleep only, but another form of rest involves taking breaks, frequent breaks, getting from your work. Don't have to sit at one place for prolonged period. Take frequent breaks. Okay, and if you feel tired during the day, stretching and doing a few minutes of vigorous exercise also can make you feel better. Okay, now talking about external stresses. As I told you, external stresses is something which are beyond your control. They are outside in the environment. Okay, that can often be a source of frustrations because you have limited control on that. So when managing stress resulting from external stressors, adaptability and understanding what you can control are vital. First important thing that I would suggest you is managing your workspace. Very important. Remember one thing, when your workspace is cluttered, okay, that can really have a damaging effect to your mental health. So it's important to keep your workspace clutter-free, okay, and that will in fact help you in preventing procrastination. Another thing that I would like to mention is strengthening your relationship with your friends and family. Now here by friends, when I talk about strengthening relationships, let me talk about the fact that when I say friends, I'm not talking about 5,000 friends that you may have in a Facebook or 10 million people following you on Instagram. No, here I mean significant people. okay, who are important to your life, who are contributing meaningfully to your lives. So here, how do you improve and strengthen the relationships with them? Instead of labeling the other person destructively, just I mentioned to you, selfish, impossible, or any other negative traits, try identifying specific behaviors or incidents and focus on how you felt during these times. That I really felt bad. I really felt hurt by this, by what you said yesterday. Okay, so focus on that. Be assertive and direct. Avoid aggressive or passive aggressive or even passive behavior. And remember, you need to be aware of your nonverbal communication, because most of the time, it's the nonverbal communication which individuals trust more than the verbal communication. What I speak is not important, but how I speak, that is very important. Be flexible and willing to meet the other person or people halfway. Try to listen from the other person's point of view, what I call empathy. And if necessary, you can also involve third party to act as a neutral arbitrator. Now, coming for the next one, that is practicing mindfulness exercises. Now, mindfulness, what is it? Mindfulness in simple terms means being aware and living at the present moment. Mindfulness can be defined as staying aware and conscious in the present moment. Though it sounds simple, but being mindful is not really very easy. Okay, so here American Psychological Association reports that there are many mindfulness-based therapies that can, that is not only treating depression, but they are also reducing the relapse rate. Now, what happens in the cases of depression, once they are treated, maybe by giving medication, okay, or through therapies, the relapse rate also happens after, after duration of time, once you stop having medication or whatever. So in such a scenario, to prevent the relapse from happening, it is important that one practices mindfulness. Okay, it has been seen. So if you find yourself in a stressful situation or notice yourself experiencing one of the many cognitive symptoms of depression, something as quickly as focusing on your breath, that is also going to help you come right at the present moment. Your thought may just go. Depression ki case mein kya hota hai? You think of the past, you go back, right? So you keep on overthinking. So the moment you start concentrating on your breath, you immediately come back to the present moment. And that's a very, very effective way of practicing mindfulness. Another one is spending time in nature. That has been seen, in fact, that though it may be something very simple to you, but spending time in nature has been shown to reduce symptoms of depression. It is called as ecotherapy or green therapy, or you can also call it as a nature therapy. Okay, in Japan, there is a custom which is called as forest bathing, which essentially means spending some time, from your daily schedule around the trees, okay, amidst the trees. And the Japanese practice of forest bathing is in fact proven. It has proven to lower the heart rate and blood pressure, reduce stress hormone production, boost the immune system, and to improve the overall feelings of well-being. Another thing that I would like to mention here is improving the nutrition. Now, people, youngsters especially, they go for fad diets, crash diets, right? To lose weight, look skinny. But then let me tell you, it may lead to nutritional deficiencies. And let me tell you that nutritional deficiencies can contribute to symptoms of depression. As the Indian Journal of Psychiatry reports in their study, Understanding Nutrition, Depression, and Mental Illness, nutritional neuroscience is an emerging discipline shedding light on the fact that nutritional factors are intertwined with the human cognition, thoughts, behavior, and emotions. Therefore, if you are not getting necessary carbohydrates, proteins, essential fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, then what happens? Individuals are likely to experience depression. So your campus health center may even have a nutritionist. So it's not about going for crash diets. It's mainly about following a healthy, balanced diet that's going to help you in the long run. Now, physical exercises, again, is very, very important. A 20-minute of power walk at the lunchtime is all that is important to manage stress effectively. And in fact, it has been compared to 6 weeks of a psychotherapy course, because physical exercises releases hormones, which we call as endorphins. And these are happy hormones. Immediately, they, uplift your mood. So physical exercise, try to keep some time aside for regular physical exercises daily. Avoiding substance abuse, alcohol, substance abuse, and depression, they often go hand in hand. Frequently, people who are struggling with depression, they turn to drugs or alcohol for help because they want relaxation, getting their mind off the things, having fun, or to forget about the troubles. But remember, it's very, very temporary. So it's not going to last long. So one needs to avoid this, substance abuse. Setting healthy boundaries, again, very important. Why? Because many a times, all of us, in fact, most of us, we have difficulty in saying no. It's very difficult. We keep on thinking what the other person might say or might feel if we say no. So as a result of which, whatever they say, we keep on saying, yes, do this, okay, yes, do that. But later on, we are just overloaded, and then we are unable to live up to the commitment, creating a poor, sorry picture for ourselves. So it's important to set good boundaries, okay? And we recognize that we can only do so much, and so we make a conscious effort to try to commit to the things that fill us up and brings us joy. So when you know when to say no, when you draw healthy boundaries, you will automatically feel that your self-esteem, it affects your self-esteem positively. So try to set healthy boundaries. Make every day meaningful. And how can you make every day meaningful? Do something that gives you a sense of accomplishment and purpose every day. Engage in hobbies during free time. Even during the pandemic, I always used to set some time aside for my hobbies. It can be singing, it can be drawing, painting, whatever it suits you. Upskill yourself on daily basis. The students would call me up and say, ma'am, we feel so demotivated these days. During that period, especially, in the beginning part of 2020. That time I would tell them, why don't you upskill yourself? Why don't you take up certain courses? It can be from Coursera. It could be from some Ivy League universities were offering free courses. Harvard, Yale University. They were offering courses on science of well-being, absolutely free of cost. So when you take up such courses and upskill yourself, automatically you will feel motivated. Try to make every single day of your life meaningful. And the 10th is psychotherapy. When one is not able to cope up with the depression or any kind of mental health related issues, you are not supposed to suffer alone. Please, one needs to go and approach the mental health practitioner, so as to prevent future episodes of depression. That's very important. Now, when I talk about resilience, I would just like to quickly show you a video.
To do everything that you can to knock your toy down. Who is the strongest in class? Jerron, come on up, please. I'm going to give Jerron a prop, and he's going to try to knock it off the table. Ready, Jerron? Okay, children, who can tell me what it means to have resilience? Yes, Paige?
Resilience means if you make the toy fall down, it'll come back up very, very fast.
Very nice.
So dear participants, whenever we are talking about resilience is that bouncing back after every fall. As rightly mentioned by the little child, for her, it was the toy, coming back after every fall. So resilience, it is an important defense people have against stress. Because as I told you, for external stresses, we do not have much control. It's our inner core that we need to build, okay? And for that, It involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed by everyone. Dr. Aparna, do I have some time left?
Yes, Dimpy, you may carry on for a few more minutes.
Just let me know, 5 minutes before, then I'll try to wind up.
Sure.
So individuals who do not have, without resilience, what happens? They become overwhelmed by life's challenges and adversities. They dwell on problems for long. They keep on thinking about the same problem again and again and again. They use unhelpful coping mechanism to deal with the challenges of life. I just gave you an example of substance abuse. That's an unhealthy coping mechanism. Decreased health, reduced self-confidence and self-esteem, and that even leads to damaging of personal relationships. So as I told you, resilience is something that can be learned. So now, it just will take you 2 minutes, not more than that. Just rate yourself. If you have a pencil and a pen, I would be happy if you have it, or I'll just go through it. Take your resiliency inventory. It's basically just 9 items are there. You can see. And then it is a Likert scale, rating scale, okay? 1 to 5. 1 means strongly disagree. 2 is disagree. 3, sometimes agree, sometimes disagree. 4th is agree. And the 5th is strongly agree. Now you see there are 9 statements. If you just read them and just mark yourself, you don't have to tell me your scores, okay? I'm usually optimistic. I see difficulties as temporary and expect to overcome them. Okay, if you strongly agree with it, then it is going to be 5. Okay, 4 if you agree. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, just mark yourself. That's your own, self-awareness. You can say you're, getting to know about yourself better. Feelings of anger, loss, and discouragement do not last long. So again, you have to mark yourself in the scale of 5. Third, I can tolerate high levels of ambiguity and uncertainty about situations. Fourth, I adapt quickly to new developments. I'm curious. I ask questions. I am playful. I find the humor in rough situations and can laugh at myself. I learn valuable lessons from my experiences and from the experiences of others. I am good at solving problems. I'm good at making things work well. 8th, I'm strong and durable. I hold up well during tough times. And 9th, I have converted misfortune into good luck and found benefits in bad experiences. So these are the 9 statements, okay? So you can just rate yourself, or you can take a screenshot of that, or it's there, it will be there with you. So you can just go through that and mark yourself or rate yourself in a scale from 1 to 5. So once you do that, you will add them up, and then you will get a total resilience score. All right. Now, how do you interpret it? Just a second. Okay. Now, if you have less than 20, it is low resilience. If it is 20 to 30, individual has some resilience. That means you have some valuable pro-resiliency skill, but then you have ample scope for improvement. Okay. So for that, you may seek coaching or support. 30 to 35 is adequate resilience. You are a self-motivated learner who recovers from most of the challenges. Okay. And 35 to 45, if your score is in that range, then you are highly resilient. Okay. You bounce back well from life setbacks and can thrive even under pressure. You could be of service to others who are trying to cope better with adversities. Right? So now there are different factors that can make someone resilient. It is positive attitude, optimism, ability to regulate your own emotions, ability to see failure as a form of helpful feedback. Okay. Primary factor is to have relationships that provide care and support. Okay. That's significant to others, the kind of relationships that you share with them. That can be, again, a very, very important factor that makes someone resilient. So important. Man is a social animal. It's so important to have good social relationships with your near and dear ones. Even if you have good, deep relationships with your friends, 5 friends, that's also enough. Meaningful relationships. Additional factors like the capacity to make realistic plans, having self-confidence, and a positive self-image can go a long way in building your resilience. Okay, so then there are 3 elements which are essential to resilience. First is challenge. People who view difficulty as challenge, they are the ones who are resilient people. The resilient people are the ones who are committed by nature, committed not just in work, but also in family relationships, okay, people they care for, and their religious or spiritual beliefs, whatever beliefs they have. Personal control. Resilient people spend their time and energy focusing on the situations and events that they have control over. Okay, and they don't keep on bothering about things that they do not have control. They focus mainly on the things that they have control over. Okay, now American Psychological Association suggests 10 ways to build resilience. Number 1 is maintaining good relationship. I had spoken about that in stress management also. It's very, very important. The second is avoid seeing crisis or stressful events as unbearable problems. Okay, everything has a solution. You just need to have some patience, and you need to wait for the right time to accept circumstances that cannot be changed. If you remember the serenity prayer, it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Right? So that is what they mention here when they are talking about to accept the circumstances that cannot be changed. Accept it. Let's not keep fighting about that. There's no point. You're wasting your valuable energy. And you all know we have limited bodily resources, right? Why to spend time on that? To take decisive actions in adverse situations, to look for opportunities of self-discovery after a struggle with loss, developing self-confidence, okay? To maintain a hopeful outlook, expecting good things and visualizing it, and to take care of your own mind and body, exercising regularly, paying attention to your own needs and feelings. That goes a long way in building your resilience. Now, I will give you some practical takeaway points, how you can do it on day-to-day basis and improve your resilience. Number 1 activity is engage in mindfulness practice, okay, activity. This was an active practice that was developed by Dr. Andrew Weil. Okay, he calls it as a 4-7-8 breathing technique. Okay, this exercise. Here, what you need to do, you have to place your tip of your tongue on the ridge of the tissue, just behind your upper front teeth, this way. Okay, and then you have to exhale completely through your mouth, making a whoosh sound. Okay, close your mouth and inhale quietly through your nose to a mental count of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're inhaling, okay, with your mouth closed. Hold your breath for a count of 7, okay, and then very slowly till the count of 8, you are exhaling, but exhalation is through your mouth. Okay, that is called 4-7 breathing technique. Okay, and remember, you need to practice it 3 or more times a day, and it has proven, the research has shown that this breathing exercise is a natural tranquilizer for our nervous system. Even people who are having sleep issues, okay, they also, when they're using this technique, okay, they are able to, it has helped them to fall asleep better. Everyone can be benefited by this. Okay, it's a very, very powerful tool. Try to practice that on a daily basis. The second thing is to increase your resilience is mental toughness activity. It's called 2 minutes hack activity. Only you require 2 minutes for that. It was developed by a performance coach of Olympics. His name was Jason Selk. What he said here is that, first of all, you have to center your breath. Breathe in for 6 seconds, hold it for 2 seconds, and very slowly you breathe out for 7 seconds. Then each one of you, okay, for example, you want to feel confident and passionate, okay? So for that, you have to repeat that sentence. Say it out, say it aloud, okay? The sentence that is called a personal identity statement, okay? That emphasizes a positive quality and specifies something that you want to become in 5 seconds. I'm consistently excellent every day as a leader, executive, and a mother. Okay, every day in every way, I'm becoming better and better. These are called as personalized identity statement. Try to repeat them. Try to visualize that and repeat them. Okay, it will not take much of time, but that's very, very effective. Then many a times people say, ma'am, we experience negative thoughts coming to our mind again and again and again. What do we do about it? Right? There's a solution for that also. That's called an activity 3, that is thought stopping activity. Okay, so cognitive reframing can be a helpful technique to adjust to maladaptive thinking, improve your resilience. Recognize when you have a negative or unhelpful thought, when you are interpreting any event. When you have the unhelpful thought, redirect it quickly. And how do you do that? First, you have to immediately stop the thought pattern, interrupt it. Okay, you can either picture it in your imagination or draw a big red stop sign or red flashing sign. Immediately say it aloud, stop, to yourself, and redirect or reshift your thoughts to healthier thoughts immediately. And this again is going to be very, very effective in overcoming that negative thinking, overthinking. Okay, so this is again a very, very practical way of handling such thoughts and building up your resilience. Another activity is resilience log activity. What you do here, you have to keep a resilient journal where you write down about every single accomplishment, goal, special achievements of your life. It can be completing a difficult project. It can be handling a certain thing, certain assignment in your university or college, right? It can be a simple task at your personal level also that you have managed to overcome a challenge. So refer to that particular resilience log activity journal, okay, or log journal. Whenever you feel a little low, it will help you energize yourself. It will help promote confidence in you and face any new challenge. Keep it handy with you in your, purse or in your bag. Another thing, as I mentioned, is cultivating gratitude activity. Here you need to write down your blessings. I had already mentioned about it, so I won't go into it. It is again highly effective in building your resilience. Another thing is find the silver lining activity. What you have to do, it's about basically thinking or looking at the brighter side of life. And let me tell you, that is a habit, and it happens when you practice. Okay, even in the pandemic, I asked people in the pandemic also try to look at the brighter side of it. What are the positives? Probably during the lockdown, you could spend more time with your near and dear ones. Otherwise, in your busy routine, you probably did not get much time to spend. So whatever the situation is, try to look at the positive or the brighter side of it. Okay, so it has proved, through studies also have proved, in fact, when individuals engage in such kind of cognitive reappraisal exercises, that can have a very positive impact on handling resilience. Think about an upsetting experience you have had recently. For example, if you take your child to the bus stop to drop him for the to the school, and suddenly what happened, that very day the child missed the bus. You're feeling frustrated in that particular experience. So rather than feeling frustrated, what you can just think on that particular time is, okay, now I can drive him to the school. So I'll have some more time to speak to my child and spend time with him. Or for that matter, you can see the sunrise from a different place, whatever the situation is. Try to cultivate that, looking at the silver lining, amidst the clouds. Increasing confidence. Now, how do you increase confidence? Here, it can be helpful to recall past memories of times you have succeeded and felt effective. Remembering our positive performance and achievements can foster a sense of self-efficacy, and that in turn can build your confidence and resilience. Okay, try to write down those achievements and tough situations that you had faced in your life, and just go back to that, how well it worked for you, how well you handled that situation. Okay, that is going to increase your confidence, because all the time we don't stay at the same. Mental makeup is not always same, no? So whenever you feel low, just fall back on that. Okay, you'll feel better. Celebrate your differences. Here, what happens, this is an exercise to worry less about what others think of you. Most of the time we keep thinking what other person must be thinking of us. That's none of our business, isn't it? We all spend more time unnecessarily caring about what others think, whereas others had other things to bother. They also must be thinking what others think. So to address this concern, so it's important to start loving yourself and appreciate yourself. Okay, fully embracing how unique and different you are. Take time to reflect on your unique qualities. What sets you apart from others? What special value do you bring? How are you different? How can you celebrate others' uniqueness? Each one of us are unique in nature. Each one of us are blessed with our potential, with our capabilities, right? So if we compare, we despair. So separating our individuality and not being threatened by the strengths of others is in fact freeing ourselves and building our inner resilience. So, dear participants, here you remember one thing, that resilience is the ability of an individual to cope with adversity and change. Okay, so when you demonstrate resilience, you will be more optimistic, flexible, self-confident, competent, okay, and so on. There are factors which inhibit your resilience, so I've just clubbed them all together. It can be poor social skills, lack of empathy, poor problem-solving skills, family violence, divorce or partner breakup, death or loss, lack of social support. Now, there are certain protective factors, okay, which will help enhance your resilience. Okay, what are they? That can be good coping skills, okay, which we discussed today in our lecture. Empathy, secure or stable family, supportive relationships, okay, intellectual abilities, self-efficacy, open communication skills. Healthy communication is the key to better relations. Facilitators of resilience can be individuals, parents, grandparents, children, partners, teachers. Okay? All of that will be under facilitators of resilience. So at last, I would just like to say that fold the worst events of your life into the narrative of triumph, as rightly pointed out by Andrew Solomon. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every single time we fall. Creating a practice of resilience would impact your life in so many wonderful ways. Resilience will help you become a much better version of yourself. And I've seen that happen over and over again with the many people I have taught and trained. And the workplace is experiencing stress and change in ways which we have never seen before, right? And this is the time to adopt resilience at work. And the time is now. So be resilient. You have my back in this journey of self-exploration and being the best version of yourself. With these words, I thank you so much for your patient listening. And for any queries, you can even write me on my institutional email ID, which is given right in front of you. And my contact number is also there, right there. With these words, thank you so much to the organizers and everyone from both the colleges for having given me this opportunity to share my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dimpi Mahanta, for your thought-provoking and helpful talk. I'm sure our participants will appreciate the practical pointers to combat stress and manage it well in their own lives. So without much ado, I would now like to take up a few questions with your kind permission, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the first question is from Simran Preet. How do we convince a person to inculcate stress management techniques post-COVID-19, since nowadays people feel quite overwhelmed due to a lot of external stressors like job uncertainty, monotonous life experiences, etc.?
Yes. So as rightly, very good question. Thank you for that. So now she has mentioned about, an individual having, what do you call it, issues related to jobs. There's a lot of job uncertainty that is also causing stress. In such a scenario, what can you tell your friend? If that person is your friend, you can, in fact, whatever I had told you today, that you can, send it across to that person by saying that you don't have much control over that, over the present scenario, external stressors. Now, it's us who need to build up our inner reserves. We need to build up our inner core, right? For that, I spoke about resilience. I told you the practical tips that you can follow on a day-to-day basis. So here you just don't have to convince him. Rather, you need to make him understand the effects of not practicing stress management, right? How it can hamper his physical, psychological, psychological, aspects of your, well-being. Even the behavioral aspect, his work is going to suffer. Sleeping late at night, not waking up on time, feeling frustrated. Yes, that's a result of the present scenario, but you need to know how to handle it, how to manage it effectively. And for that, what is required? We need to manage our stresses better. And that you can do by following all the strategies that I had mentioned, a little while back. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Dr. Anju Chibber. Many a times, negative thinking and getting irritated on small things becomes a routine habit of children, teenagers, and even adults. What is the easiest way to cope up with that and come out of it in a short span of time? That's the first question. I'll let you answer that first, and then I will come on to the next.
Okay, now when you were talking about little children, ma'am, as you rightly said, that yes, even I have a little daughter, she's 10-year-old, as I mentioned. And during this pandemic, it was very difficult, in fact, there were mood swings to handle, it was difficult for me as well as a parent. So it is but natural for little children with so much of energy. So, they are bundles of energy. Now it's up to us as parents or as teachers, how we channelize their energy in the right direction. What I did, let me tell you, I tried to engage her in her hobbies. I tried to put her in a guitar class, online guitar class. She loves painting. I got her all the painting, she painted my walls. No issue. She is enjoying. Let her do that in this presence. It's how you actually let them do what they love doing. So why do they get irritated at the first place? Because they have so much of energy. Where would they, where would they, what do we call it, show it? Because they're not going to school, they're not playing with their friends, they are indoors. In such a scenario, you need to keep them busy. You need to, they are attending online classes for long. So that's also having an adverse impact on them. So it is up to us as parents, first of all, to understand what is the dynamics of stress and how we can manage that effectively. And accordingly, we would be better able to empathize with our little children and help them overcome this particular problem at hand. Thank you.
That brings us to the second part of the question. She has asked how to deal with stress due to playing online games by children, as they hardly take interest in enriching activities and are not left with any hobbies apart from PC-based activities anymore, which is the main reason behind stress for the family as a whole.
Yes, yes. Yeah, when we talk about online games, now it's up to us also, as parents, to introspect. Are we also spending that much of time on our mobiles? Is it, as parents, we need to be first role models for our children, isn't it? So if we want them to be, engaged in hobbies, we want them to read, first of all, we need to become good role models for them. We need to start reading. If they see us engaging in phone, and there I am telling my daughter, now you stop online games, stop, you are not supposed to, stay online as of now. Then she would come back and she'll tell me, Mama, what are you doing? So first and foremost, I need to be better role models first, and then I can limit. Second thing that we can do is we need to limit the time. Okay, limit the time for taking up, all these online games and all. They should not become addicted to that. They are spending their time in their room, locked up, playing online games one after another, and parents are busy in their own work, and they're also not very concerned because chalo kisi na kisi cheez mein busy hai, chalo I can concentrate on my household chores, and for working mothers I can understand how it is. So yes, we need to limit the time of consumption of this online stuff. So that's very important. You need to keep a check on that, and you need to sit with them and play. You need to spend time with them. You need to show active involvement with them. You need to tell them, let's sit together and draw something today. Just try this. You will see how it changes. You need to sit and say, today I am also reading this book. I will tell you the first 2 pages what it's about. Tell them also do that. I'm just giving you very practical steps. Tell them you also read this particular thing and tell me at the end of the chapter what actually you learn from this book. So when you become involved as a parent and as an elder, automatically you will see that child also will start taking your, instructions more seriously.
Thank you, ma'am, for that practical advice. Next question is from Dr. Bela Bhatia. How do you ensure that stressful situations in your personal life don't affect your work performance?
So here, when you talk about stressful situations in the personal life, or for that matter in the professional also, it happens, right? So professional life mein ka jo stress hota hai, that affects our personal life many a times. And same goes vice versa. So here, it's very important for us somewhere to draw that boundary which I mentioned, drawing that healthy boundary, extremely important. Okay, so when we talk about personal stresses, first you have to understand what are the personal stresses that's causing you stress. okay, at that particular point of time. So one by one, first you write it down, note it down, because that will make you mindful about that situation. And then one by one, try to solve it. Many a times what happens, maybe a particular personal, problem. It can be a small fight at home or a little quarrel at home that's affecting you, and then that you're carrying that stale mood to the workplace. So here, that's all the stress management strategies that I said, that comes as a rescue here. Okay, just try to focus on that particular problem and that particular situation. Okay, and you need to be conscious of it and deal with it at that particular point of time. And when you come to work, that's separate. You have drawn that boundary, healthy boundary. So when you come to work, come with a fresh mind. Somewhere that comes with practice, and that does come. Okay, so that you need to practice, and all the techniques that I said, practicing mindfulness, focusing on your breathing, that will definitely help you to cope up with any kind of stress, be it personal or be it professional. So that's very important. Yeah.
The next question I take up is from Utkarsh Bhardwaj. Ma'am, is thinking about future dreams or goals all the time bad? As most of the time it may affect our work on the path which one should go through to achieve these goals.
Yeah, all the time thinking of the future. I told you, we get anxious. I told you two things, if you remember Utkarsh, right? Utkarsh is a very good question. Depression happens when we are living in the past. And anxiety happens, anxiousness happens when we are thinking too much about the future. Start practicing mindfulness, start focusing. And mindfulness, I'm not asking you to sit somewhere and then quietly, start practicing that, or start breathing and start meditating. There are so many apps also which are available online also. There's an app called CALM, Calm. Just try to download that. Okay. There's so many mindfulness-based exercises which are there on YouTube. Try to download that. But even if not that, what can you do to bring your mind to the present moment? Focus on your breath. Easiest way. If you're driving a car, focus on your breath. Your mind will stop thinking of the future, immediately come to the present. Are you understanding? If you are thinking about too much about the past and getting, hassled, immediately focus on your breath. You will immediately come to the present moment. Try practicing mindfulness. That's going to help you to a great extent, Utkarsh. I hope I answered your question.
Next question is from Mr. Raju. Does narcissistic personality also feel stress as they are sociopaths and psychopaths and have a lack of empathy?
I would not like to go into that detail or as far as narcissistic personality, psychopath, sociopath. Yes, definitely. Stress is an inherent part of every individual's life. Yes, to greater or lesser extent, every individual does. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is from Dr. Vanshika Lum. If assigned with multiple tasks at the same time, how would you organize yourself to produce quality work under tight deadlines?
Who asked this question?
Dr. Vanshika Lum.
Okay, Dr. Vanshika, yeah, even I, at times it happens to me also. I get overwhelmed seeing so many things to do at both personal and professional front, and it gets overwhelming. So what I do personally, and what I would suggest you also, probably you find it helpful, just write it down. The tasks that you feel, prioritize them, A, B, and C, some things which are very urgent and important. There is a deadline to be met. That's the most important. Put them in the first one. Point number one is that particular task. Okay, things which are urgent but which are not very, very important, or something which is important but not very urgent. You can club them in that quadrant. Okay, and then accordingly you can focus on your work, one by one. Try solving it. Try putting a tick after you are done with one task at a time. Things which are important. Automatically you will feel motivated. Automatically you will feel good about yourself, and you will be less. Just try to strategize that. Yeah.
Dr. Dimpy, I hope we can continue with the questions because we have several more questions in the chat box.
I think what we can do probably that, they can write to me also. Maybe I can answer them in my, and they can write to me on my email ID, or they can contact me over the phone in case of any kind of queries.
Okay, so can I take just one more question
Yeah,
from
sure.
our student? Yeah.
Yeah.
Akanksha Rajpati has asked, how can we combat stress aroused by our own personal insecurities?
Okay. In your own personal insecurities. So how can you combat? So personal insecurity, why does it arise? First thing is that first you have to go to the roots of it. What is it that is making you insecure? Is it your low self-esteem that is making you feel insecure? What is the main reason? What is the root cause of that insecurity? And when you know how the root cause, then it automatically you can try to overcome that by various means. Many times, even a counseling session with your university or school counselor college counselor can help to a great extent in knowing about the root cause and then accordingly helping you to deal with that. Yes. Here, an expert, guidance is required and timely counseling may be required. It depends. Yes.
I think this question is quite important, so please let me ask one more.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Vidya Sagar Kumar has asked how to provide appropriate in-service school teachers training for getting enough practice for enhancing counseling for learners regarding feeling better, well-being in future life. Any suggestions on this?
Okay, here I would just like to say that as far as in-service training of teachers are concerned to be better counselors, so there are quite a few counseling, I think courses which are available. So that, you can get some experts and then provide a 10-day counseling course. Something of that sort happened in my own university also 2 years back, where teachers from different departments, they also joined. We have a counseling team in our university. So where there are teachers from different departments who have come together and they had been trained, because I'm a trained counselor, but then for them there had to be a proper training session which was implemented by the university authorities. So something of that sort can be worked out where you can call experts and then counseling sessions can be organized and they would be learning. And once they know about that, because ultimately it's a teacher-student relationship. Teacher often plays the role of a counselor. Right? So right after parents is the teacher and students spends a lot of time in the school. So it's very important, as you rightly pointed out, that training our counselors, training our teachers to be effective counselors play a very, very important role in the long run. And that will be very helpful for our students at school. Yes.
Another question from Mr. Ranjan Oja. Raj Ranjan Oja, sorry. How can a person manage the stress associated with failure, like not being able to learn particular stuff, stress caused due to forgetfulness? Basically, his own failure, if I may say.
So here, all that you have to do, failure is part of life, Life is full of ups and downs, isn't it? It's not always that, how will you enjoy success if you have never tasted failure, isn't it? So whenever you are experiencing failure, remember that. Try to learn the lessons out of it and try to move ahead and try to go ahead with other challenging tasks and try to see what it actually led to that failure. Try to find out the root cause. And then accordingly, you have to equip yourself so that the next assignment or next challenge, you can master it well and you can face it well and emerge out as a winner. So I'm very sure, so one failure will not determine, and failure doesn't define us, let me tell you that. So failure only teaches us certain lessons that we are not supposed to repeat next time we encounter any kind of challenge in life. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Dimpy. Thanks a lot for addressing all these questions. Some other questions are also there, and I think I've skipped the repetitive ones. Others are requested. All the participants are requested to kindly address their questions. They can address their questions to Dr. Dimpy as she has welcomed all queries.
I'll be more than happy to interact with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your informative and really enjoyable, actually, and interesting talk. Now I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Madhurani. Madhu ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rubina ma'am. I can feel all the participants because I have been stopping myself from asking so many questions which arise and I didn't realize that these things exist. I used to think that the stress the things, small things on which I cry. This is just part of being a mother of 2 college-going kids. But now I can realize that, yes, I have some kind of a stress. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an informative session. And before beginning the formal closing words, remarks, I would request all the participants that the feedback form link has been shared in the chat box. So kindly fill that feedback form. Once you fill that form, you will receive an e-certificate of participation on the mail ID which you must have provided in that form. In case you are not getting that certificate within few hours, then you can please contact us on the mail ID which is given in the poster itself. And now it's time for some formal closing remarks. Above all, on behalf of this organizing team and the entire participants, I would like to express our gratitude and appreciation to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Dimpy Mehta, for a very thought-provoking, and I will say it's a life-changing session for all of us. Thank you for clearing all our concepts and enhancing our understanding, and a wonderful takeaway that it's not very hard to remain stress-free. Simple task, as simple as breathing, can help us to remove the stress from our life. And every day brings us a choice. It is up to us whether we choose the stress or we choose the peace of mind. So in a nutshell, I would like to take this, which is the takeaway for me, that I will definitely choose peace, and I will follow all the suggestions you have given us. So simple techniques you have given us that which can be done at home anytime within few minutes, and we can be stress-free. So it is our choice, we can do that. Thank you so much, ma'am. Indeed, you have put your best efforts to make this event very fruitful. We are highly obliged for that, ma'am. And thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. We extend our gratefulness to our captain behind the steering wheel, our patron, our respected principal, Professor Rajiv Agrawal, sir. Your compassion stimulates us to work hard to accomplish our goals. We thank you for your generous support all the time. We express our humble appreciation to to our respected Vice Principal, sir, Professor Kamal Kumar Gupta, sir. Thank you, sir, for motivation, encouragement, and unconditional support. We express our thankfulness to I'm really sorry. I'm overwhelmed with this session. I think I done a huge mistake. I want to express our humble appreciation to the driving force behind the fellow team at Pettigrew College, respected principal, Shri Suraishang sir. Thank you, sir, for your support. And we express our thankfulness to our IQAC coordinator at Deshbandhu College, Dr. Aditya Saxena sir, for his passion and untiring efforts. Above and beyond, we are highly thankful to our student and faculty participants from different colleges and departments and institutes for participating and attending this webinar. Without your kind presence, without your zeal, we could not have accomplished our aspiration. We convey our heartfelt gratitude to the Vidya Vistar team at both the colleges, and we thank them to plan such a wonderful session and for successfully executing it. We also thank our technical team from Deshbandhu College for smooth execution of this event. We also express our gratitude to our non-teaching faculty for I'm really sorry, non-teaching staff for helping in many ways. I sincerely apologize if I have, yes, I have to, if I have missed anyone, and thank you all. At the end, it's a humble reminder for all the participants to kindly fill the feedback form which is provided. In the meantime, I will request the host to kindly allow the participant to switch on their camera, and I will request our technical team to take some screenshots. I will request the participants to switch on their cameras, please. I hope our technical team has taken enough shots so that we can cherish this memory forever. And thank you all. We are looking forward for your participation in all the forthcoming events, wonderful events under the flagship of Vidya Vistar scheme. We are greatly honored by your presence. We wish you health and joy. Namaste to all.
Thank you.
And I request the host to close the meeting.
Thank you.